Continue with our lesson 1.3. We are at the point where we will start solving some word problems, and the problems are based on the concept of the equation of a line in slope intercept form. Okay, this form y equals mx plus b, which we have seen before, is called slope intercept form because the m here is the slope of the line, change in y divided by change in x, and the b here is the y-intercept. Okay, so in some texts you will also find this written as slope y-intercept form, to be specific that b is the y-intercept. Slope is m and y-intercept is b. Now instead of b, let me write 0 comma b, just to highlight the fact that it's the point on the y-axis. Okay. So visually, this form of equation is very powerful because it immediately tells you the two important characteristics of the line. The y-intercept tells you what was the value initially when x equal to 0. What was the value of the function? In many real-world application, that refers to the initial value at time equal to 0. What was the value of whatever quantity you are measuring? Right? That is b. So this form is significant. And the slope tells you the rate of change, right? What was the initial value and at what rate is the quantity changing? And once you know those two things, you can, interpret the problem as well as solve it using this linear model. Okay. Let us say some examples. In 2011, the total retail revenues generated by SMS and MMS messages in the UK was 2,539 million Great Britain pounds, I guess. Okay, so I'll just call it pounds for short. During the next 4 years, revenues declined on an average by 467 pounds per year, million pounds per year. Okay, so as I was saying, the slope represents the rate of change, right? So when you read this problem, if you have not already thought, pause this and give a quick, thought about which one is the slope and which one is the y-intercept in this first two sentences of this problem. Okay, the y-intercept and the slope is given there. Figure out which one is which. And you should have figured out this per year here means it's a rate, which means it is the slope m. Okay, so m is 467. Make sure to check the units. That is also given in millions. So million, and our units now would be millions of dollars. Okay, for the money, and for the time it will be year. So this is fine. Okay, otherwise you have to convert. And the 2,539, this one was in 2011, right? So this in 2011 would correspond to when the time is 0, the initial value. Okay, t, I wrote t, but for us it's x. So this quantity here is the y-intercept. That was the value of the revenue when we started counting. Okay, so in the language of equations, we will say b is 2,539. Okay, so therefore the equation or the model will be y equals 467x plus 2,539. Okay, so and also read here, the x represents the number of years after 2011. So 2011 is when x equal to 0. And from then in 2012, it is x equal to 1 and so on. Okay. Now let us, on the next page, you will find the second part of this problem. Okay. Use the model from part A to estimate the retail revenues generated in the year 2014. So the model from part A was 467x plus 2539. In the year 2014, now 2011 is when x equal to 0. So 2014 should be when x equal to 3. Okay. So y at 3. So that is a way of writing that I'm evaluating the value of y when x equal to 3. Okay. We read it as y of 3 equals 467 times 3 plus 2, 5. Oh, one correction, major course correction. Going back, we have to be a little bit careful. See, I'll tell you later how I realized the correction that you have to make also. There should be a minus sign here. Okay. Why? It is the value is 467, but declined. Revenues declined, right? So when we look at the rate of change, we have to consider whether it is increasing or decreasing. Because the revenues are decreasing, our rate is negative here. Okay, so the value of M is minus 467. So the model is minus 467. And some of you, if you had been watching this more carefully, you might have been thinking about it until now. And you are not wrong. Okay. Minus 467. And I'll tell you how I realized that when I read, like I knew it, like it had slipped my mind, right? And when did I recall it? I recalled it when I had to estimate the revenue for 2014. I was about to multiply that and add, then I realized, oh my God, this is going to increase the revenue. But we are saying the revenues are declining. So the revenue in the later year should be decreasing. All right. Then I immediately remembered I should have put a minus sign for the rate. Okay. And you go ahead and calculate this, and I think you'll get 1138 millions. Pounds. Okay. Moving on. Some practice problems. By noon, 3 inches of rain had fallen during a storm. Okay. Rain continued to fall at the rate of 1/4 inch per hour. After that, okay, afternoon. So find a formula for a linear function that models the amount of rainfall x hours past noon. Note that. Okay. So that means you want to begin counting at noon. All right. So read the problem again and figure out what is M, what is B. Take a minute to do that and check with me. M, you must have realized, is 1/4, right? Rain at the rate. The rate is 1/4 inch per hour, right? So our length will be in inches and the time will be in hours. Okay, always think of units. And the B, now B will be the quantity that we are measuring in its initial value. What we are measuring here is the amount of rain. And initially, at means at noon. The noon here is initial. Okay. At the time, the amount of rain is 3 inches. So B is 3. That's it. Once you know that, the linear function f of x, you can say y equals f of x or just f of x will be equal to mx plus b. Okay. Next, find the amount of rainfall by 2:30 p.m. What's the amount of rainfall at 2:30 p.m.? Okay. And the answer should be, pretty straightforward. If you can calculate what is the value of x for 2:30 p.m. Okay. So the 12 noon is when x equal to 0, right? So 2:30, now we are measuring the time in hours, right? Is when x should be, and you guessed it, you calculated it correctly, it should be 2.5. Okay. So then you can write your answer. Therefore, amount, by the way, like in word problems, you have to write your answer in sentences. Okay. I don't do it all the time because I'm making videos with, solving many problems. Once in a while, I will repeat that and I will write that and I'll show you. Okay. In word problems, write your answer in sentences. Therefore, amount of rainfall by 2:30 p.m. is, you should say. Okay. And that would be f of 2.5, right, which is 1/4 of 2.5 plus 3, and that will be 3.625 inches, like that. Okay, moving on. A linear function f has the ordered pairs listed in the table. Find the slope of the graph. Use the table to find the y-intercept of the line and give an equation that defines f. Okay. So basically, you are told, you are informed that this is a linear function. Okay. Later, I'll tell you a twist, a twist that can be given on this question. This is a straightforward question. Linear function. So which means immediately you should understand the table gives you the points on that line. Okay, so they must be the points on that line, which means you should be able to calculate the slope of that line by using any 2 points. Okay, so firstly, when I say the points are slope, the table gives you points on the line, I mean this. Okay, if you want to zoom in, that -3 comma -10 will be a point on that line. Okay, suppose I call that x1, y1, right? And which one can I take as second point? Anything. I'm just like, for fancy, I'm going to take the last point, first and the last. You could have taken any other point, doesn't matter. Okay. And I call that x2, y2 because that is the beauty of a line, right? The slope should remain the same no matter which 2 points you take. Okay. Then, according to formula, my m, the slope, will be y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. And that is, my y2 is 6, y1 is -10, so plus 10 divided by y2 is x2 is 1 minus x1 is -3. So minus makes it plus. Okay, 16 divided by 4, which is 4. Right? And so that is the slope. Use the table to find the y-intercept. Now from this table, find the y-intercept. I'll give you some time to think about that. And you should have realized That will be your y-intercept. Okay. Otherwise, you would have to calculate. Actually, we didn't, even if it was not given in the table, we could have calculated it. But this is easy, right? When the value of x is 0, the value of y is the y-intercept. Definition. So you can say from the table b equals 2. Okay. So therefore, the equation of that linear function f of x will be mx plus b, right? 4x plus 2. M is 4, b is 2. Okay. So that is the answer to the question. And I was telling, I'll tell you the twist. The twist could be like this. Okay. You will be given a table like this, and you will be asked, does this table represent a linear function? Okay. And your approach will be, you will calculate the slopes. Maybe in the next column here, you can calculate the slope, you know. And in that slope, you would use every possible combination. Okay. First and second, first and third, first and fourth, first and fifth. Then you should use second and third, second and fourth, second and fifth. Work will be more. Okay. Then third and fourth, third and fifth, fourth and fifth, like that. So if you are able to find the slope, actually you can use geometry to do less work. If you want to argue, make some logical argument, I will leave that to you. I'll not get into that. Okay. You can actually do it less than that, but you have to explain. But if not, a simple method would be to find the slope with all possible pairs of points, and you will find the same slope. The value would be turn out to be the same. Then you will claim that yes, this represents uh, a linear function. Okay, one way. The other method would be just like this. You can use any 2 points to find the equation of the function, and then plug in the value of x in for the rest of the points and verify that it is actually satisfying. Okay. So for example, I'll demonstrate that to you. Suppose, I were to take the second point from here, minus 2 comma minus 6, right? Then what I would do here is I would evaluate f of minus 2. And according to formula, it will be 4 times minus 2 plus 2. See, I got the equation 4x plus 2 not by using the point minus 2 minus 6, right? I used minus 3 minus 10 and 1 6. So now I am finding without using that. Okay. So if it still satisfies, then that point minus 2 comma minus 6 should be on that line, on that same linear function. That is minus 8 plus 2, which is minus 6. Okay. This way, if you can, find the equation using 2 points and prove that rest of the points also lie on the same function by evaluating f of x for all of them and showing that they match with the y values. Okay, that way also you would have proved that it is indeed a linear function. Okay, I'll move on. Fine, a moving company charges a flat fee of $40 plus a rate of 50 cents per mile driven. Find the charger a customer pay for moving to a location 300 miles away. Okay. So at this time you have got enough experience. I'll let you pause the video, solve it, and then check my solution. Okay. And we can do it fairly fast. Okay. Now, if you have given a thought, at the rate of 0.45 miles per mile, so clearly the rate means that's the slope. Flat fee, that is, you pay that as soon as you book the services, right? So that is your initial charge, $40. So B is 40. Okay. Find the charges. Now let's model, write the model first. The model would be y equals mx plus b. So 0.5x plus 40. And a customer moves 300 miles away, books the services for moving 300 miles. And in that equation, by the way, y is the cost for the customer, x is the number of miles. Okay, that is the idea, right? If you mile 0.5x means if you drive, if you move, like if you use the services for 1 mile, you pay 0.5, 2 miles, 0.5 times 2. For x miles, you pay 0.5x extra, So the answer here, okay, would be the required answer here. I'll just say that, as I said, you in your written answers, make it a habit to write sentences. Okay, the charges the customer has to pay for 300 miles will be like that. Okay, that is the answer. That would be 0.5 times 300 plus 40. X is 300 now. Okay, so let me actually point out that this means x equals 300. Okay, and that would be 150 plus 40, $190. Quite cheap for today's standard. Okay, for today's costs. Moving on. A woman purchased a new car with an initial $5,000 down payment and a monthly installment of $350. Okay. Formulate the amount she pays X months after the purchase as a linear equation. Okay, first do that. And again, pause the video, make sure you do it, and then check with me. Did you find that monthly installment here is the rate? Okay, per month, right? Every month you have to pay $350. And the word initial itself, should signify that this is the down payment. Okay, initial, right? So this is the value of initial value. So that's the B. Okay, so rate here means M, and that's B. So our M is 350, B is 5,000. Your model is Y equals 350 MX plus B. Okay, that is the model. How long will it take her to pay off the vehicle in full if the total amount is $19,700? I mean, the total amount to be paid. I meant that. Okay. The total amount to be paid is $19,700. Think about that. And unlike previous questions, now this is a one variation, right? In the previous questions, you're given the value of X. Now you're given the value of Y. That's what you need to figure out here. Okay. So this value given here is Y. Okay. Because Y in this equation, Y represents the amount paid and X represents the number of months, right? After the purchase. Okay. So therefore you should say, okay, 19,700 equals 350x plus 5,000. And now you solve for X. 350x equals, subtract that, 19,200, sorry, 700 minus 500, which will be 19,200. And then you divide. X will be 19,200 divided by 350. Okay, you can punch that in a calculator I will try to see if I can do it mentally. 0 and 0 will cancel. 35 times 2 is 70. 70 times 2 will be 192. So that is times 4 already. Sorry, 140. And 0 will give you 40 times or 140. And then another how many? 92. 5. 1. 5 will 175. Yeah, let me do it like this. 5 times 175. 150 and 25 will be 175. Yeah. And then 17. Okay. Oh, I see. I made a calculation mistake, a small mistake earlier. I was wondering why the answer is not coming up as an integer. Okay. So it happens. Okay. Calculation mistakes once in a while. I hope you will pardon me for that. But I can realize because I know the answers. I made the questions. Okay. So I can figure that out. 12,700. Okay. So when you divide now, x will be 12,700. I have to subtract 5,000 there. The down payment was 5,000, not 500. Okay. 500 down payment will be cool, right? But your interest would be higher, if you do that. Okay. Now you can divide more easily. 3 times gives you 105. So you get 22. Of 220, 220 should go. Zero cancels. 105, 22. Oh, looks like this is still a little bit in decimals, but that's fine. Okay, maybe it's early morning and my brain is not functioning super well. Okay, I thought it was going to be an integer number. It is not, so I'm just going to punch this in a calculator. Okay, 1270 divided by 35. 36 point. Okay, let me double check the answer and then I will give you 350. 5,000 down payment. Okay. All right. So when I was making the question, I maybe did a little bit of, from $10 or something, I calculated off. I was doing the mental calculation while making that. Okay. So it came in decimals, but that's fine. Okay. But now you have to understand how long will it take. Maybe this is a good chance to discuss that. In real world problems, sometimes you get that. Okay. So what does 36.29 here mean when you round off? That means you are going to take 36 months and some more, right? So you can say 37 months because in 36 months you are not going to be paying it. So the remaining whatever you are going to pay in the next month only, right? Okay. So more than 36 months. So your answer here. So basically what I'm saying is your answer to this. What did I do? Yeah. Answer to this question should be 36 plus months, right? Or 37 months. Okay, so either would be acceptable as long as you explain your answer. Okay, it will take more than 36 months. All right, that brings us to the end of the lesson, and you have this homework problems to do. I did solve many different word problems just so that you will have enough practice when you are doing the homework. Okay, thank you. I will meet you in the next video for the next lesson.